On New Year's Eve, I found myself drawn to the desolate shores of Whitby, where the North Sea meets the rugged cliffs in an eternal dance of nature. The town, famous for its haunting beauty and ghostly legends, was the perfect escape from the usual festive revelries. I sought solitude, but as I would soon discover, I was far from alone. The night was bitingly cold, the wind carrying the salty tang of the sea as it whipped around me. The moon, full and luminous, cast a spectral glow over the beach, its light reflecting off the frothy waves. The clock was nearing 12, and the town's outline was a mere shadow against the celestial backdrop. As I walked along the shore, my thoughts were interrupted by a faint melody drifting on the wind. It was a tune I recognized, an old sea shanty that my grandfather used to hum. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, a ghostly whisper that beckoned me forward. Compelled by curiosity and an unshakable sense of déjà vu, I followed the melody towards the old lighthouse at the edge of the cliffs. The lighthouse, long decommissioned, stood like a sentinel, its once bright beacon now dark and lifeless. As I approached, the music grew louder, more insistent. A light flickered in the lighthouse window, a beacon calling out to lost souls. I felt a chill that had little to do with the winter air. The door to the lighthouse creaked open, as if inviting me inside. I entered cautiously, the interior shrouded in darkness, save for the faint light emanating from the top of the spiral staircase. The melody was louder now, a mournful tune that echoed through the hollow space. Climbing the stairs, each step creaked under my weight, the sound unnaturally loud in the silence. When I reached the top, I was met with a sight that made my blood run cold. There, in the lantern room, stood a figure, gazing out to sea. He was an old man, his weathered face illuminated by the flickering light of a lantern. He turned to me, his eyes hollow and filled with an unspeakable sadness.
"Do you hear it?"
he asked, his voice a hoarse whisper. I couldn't respond, my voice caught in my throat. The man's gaze seemed to pierce through me, seeing something I could not.
"They never found her, you know,"
he continued, his gaze returning to the sea.
"My daughter lost to the waves on a night much like this. Every New Year's Eve, I come here hoping to see her, to save her."
The sorrow in his words was palpable, a grief that transcended time. I felt a sudden, overwhelming empathy for the man, his story tugging at something deep within me. As I looked out at the sea, a fog began to roll in, thick and suffocating. The melody grew louder, almost deafening, and within the fog, I saw figures emerging. They were ghostly, ethereal, their forms shifting with the mist. Among them, I saw a young woman, her face a mirror of the old man's grief. She reached out to me, her expression one of desperation and longing. The old man beside me let out a cry of anguish and reached out to the apparition. The fog enveloped us, the figures drawing closer. I felt a coldness seeping into my bones, a chill that came from beyond the grave. The old man's grief, his unending search for his lost daughter, had called them here, the souls of those claimed by the sea. I turned to the old man, intending to pull him away, but he was gone. In his place stood a mirror, and in its reflection I saw not my own face, but that of the old man. The shock of the revelation hit me like a wave. I was the old man, and he was me. Our souls intertwined through time, bound by grief and loss. Isabel was my daughter, lost to the sea, her memory haunting me through the years. As the clock struck midnight, marking the beginning of the new year, the apparitions faded into the mist, their mournful melody lingering in the air. I was left alone in the lantern room, the truth of my past life crashing over me. The lighthouse, the sea, the unending grief, they were all part of me, a cycle of sorrow that repeated each New Year's Eve. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, I descended the lighthouse stairs, my mind heavy with the weight of centuries of loss. The town of Whitby was waking up, oblivious to the ghostly drama that had unfolded on its shores. I walked back to the shore, the melody still echoing in my mind. The sea, once a source of solace, now held a deeper, darker meaning. It was a reminder of the endless cycle of grief and loss, a cycle that I was doomed to relive, year after year, as the old man in the lighthouse, forever searching for his lost daughter,